world where high school students are able to become prime ministers, successful business people, and even ninjas, everything seems to be going well for these 7 students. That is until one day while they go on vacation in their private jet, it happens to crash into a new world. Now with this world before them, they use their talents to exploit the dumb people of the new world into working under them for cheap. Episode 1. Within Japan, there are 7 prodigies that were called the smartest and most talented students in the world, with one of the girls being super smart with the ability to hijack any kind of satellite or technology. Her name is Ohoshi. Despite being some stupid high school girl, she is somehow the world's best innovator. Another one of these prodigies is a samurai girl who has the ability to dodge bullets like she is in the Matrix. This girl is Ichijo, the world's top swordsman despite only being in high school. Next is some blonde babe who is the best doctor in the world. Her name is Kanzaki. Another one of the prodigies is some scumbag who owns 30% of the world's money, the top entrepreneur and high schooler Sanada. With the best magic in the world and the ability to fool everyone into believing his tricks is Prince, the top magician. Up next is the world's best ninja, a girl who has superhuman abilities named Sarutobi. As you can tell, they are running out of ideas here. So the next person is a high schooler who somehow got elected as the prime minister, Mikogami. Now with all of these esteemed students, for some reason they are all on the same private jet heading into the sunset. As you can guess, however, they are the plane that happened to crash into this other world. Mikogami in particular wakes up to find a hot elf girl looking over him, asking if he is all right. Mikogami tries to remember what happened, so he thinks back on what happened. He remembers his plane crashing while being alongside the others, so he asks her if they are all right. She then tells him to calm down and look around, showing all of the other students are also being treated here. He then introduces himself to the hot elf girl, asking for her name in exchange. She informs him she is Lyrule, an elven girl who couldn't pass up on helping some people crashing from a plane into her territory. She then presents him with some food, explaining it's a stew made from goat milk. This makes Mikogami feel like a child while being fed, so he spits it out. He tells her that it's nasty, and that he wants something that tastes decent. This makes her try it herself, and she realizes just how disgusting the food really is. To make up for this, she decides to make out with Mikogami, showing she is already rizzed up by his attitude. As the world's best politician, he accepts her love and spits some game on her, asking for more help. She decides to follow suit and chew the food up for him again. Before she can kiss him again, another girl walks in. She introduces herself as Winona, a busty beast girl who also lives in Lyrule's village. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. If you could be the prodigy of one thing, what would it be? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now, back to the recap. Upon hearing this, Mikogami mans up and thanks her for her help, asking her how old she is in the process. He hopes she is around his age to spit some game, but he stops when he notices her furry tail. He asks if she is a furry, to which she informs him that she is in fact a furry, telling him they are all over the place around here. Lyrule then asks how he doesn't know any of this, questioning where he is from. He tells them he is from Japan, but they show no signs of understanding where that is. This makes Mikogami question what's going on, but thanks to him not being stupid, he puts the pieces together and realizes he is in a new world. After realizing this, he asks the girls to take him over to the plane crash, hoping to find some clue to why they were teleported here. Upon inspecting the plane crash, he finds his private jet completely destroyed. He wonders how they possibly survived this crash, recognizing that it's completely demolished. While he looks at the plane, a dragon flies overhead, making him realize that he is in fact in another world. To gain some merit with the girls, he tells them this, hoping they will take a stronger liking to him. Later that night, he heads to a party with the village, drinking all of their liquor. With some of the prodigies like Sanada being a scumbag, he tells the others that he is already ready to build his enterprise. The others talk about what to do next while the magician Prince is scared from entering a new world. He screams out in agony, making a ruckus, so Lyrule tells him to shut up already. With him finally being quiet, Lyrule begins explaining more about this world to the others. In this world, humans are actually called something else, livestock, and are regularly enslaved by others. Before she can explain more about this world, dinner gets ready, so everyone begins eating. with the small furries stealing a majority of the food before anyone can get a bite, giving the villagers some mayo, with them never trying mayo before they start eating it up like it's some magical food. After this, Wayana begins yapping about some story that is famous in their world. Apparently, there is a tale of 7 heroes coming to their world and slaying an ancient dragon. With this tale being an ancient one, some of them wonder if they are the heroes, but a villager protests. He explains that they are just a bunch of fakes, calling the 7 useless fools who are just begging for free meals. He tells them to get out of the village once they finish eating, running away in the process. Winona apologizes for her bastard son. Mikogami is trying to get out of this village as well, so he calls a meeting. He goes over 3 topics. 1, gaining power to survive in this world. 2, power to go back to their own world. And lastly, the power to build this peasant village back up. Before they embark on a journey to save the world, Ringo meets with Mikogami to tell him she did some playing around last night. Somehow she managed to bring cell service back to their phones as well as loot the place crash for some goods. With her finding some random piece of rubble, he asks what the purpose of it is. Before he gets an answer, however, the furries are approached by a group of soldiers. They demand that the soldiers leave, but they know no signs of backing down. The head of the soldier walks up on Wayana and tries to assault her, but he is stopped by Mikogami. He uses his political expertise to convince the soldiers to back down. Despite his skills, however, they show no signs of leaving without some goods, so they ready their swords. As they prepare to fight, Ichijo and Sarutobi stop them. This leads the leader with no remaining soldiers, so Mikogami fights the remaining soldier, and somehow he is able to overpower him. As they run off, they wonder if it was the right decision to ward off the soldiers, knowing although they are some thugs, they are also soldiers. To counter them causing more problems, Mikogami sent Prince to fool them with some magic. Prince appears above the soldiers with some flying magic or something, and introduces himself as a grand magician. He uses his magical tricks to strike fear into the soldiers, eventually forcing them into promising not to make any more problems. Now with this out of the way, Mikogami informs the others that they really need to get to work now. He urges all of them to find their own paths and overcome whatever challenges may come their way. With the 7 previously being called prodigies, he thinks that they will be able to strive just as well in this world. Episode 2. To start his reign in this world, Sanada approaches a shady banker to see if he will lend him any money. Sadly, the fat banker tells him that he doesn't lend to peasants, kicking him out of his store. With this being a failure, Elch, the Beast Boy, asks Sanada what he is thinking, this being the only bank in town. Sanada explains that he hates sucking up to people, so he will just start his own business and ignore the funding. As they talk, some filthy furry kid watches them with greedy eyes, wondering if they got a loan. Sanada, on the other hand, is calm, telling Elch that if he lives his life working for others, he will never make it out of the trenches. He informs Elch that he is serious about making them rich, thanking him again for saving his life. On top of this, he plans on crushing the bank within the week, thinking that's more than enough time to start his own business. Meanwhile, at the village, Prince wastes the day away, showing worthless magic to the kids of the peasant village. With him doing weird things, they are impressed by his actions, calling him amazing. Mikogami, on the contrary, spends his time as usual, flirting with the baddies of the village, making sure he is advancing his political uses. While he does this, some of the other prodigies actually get things done, showing despite his uselessness, they are still advancing. He then goes to cook with Tyrul, hoping she will feed him again, but they stop when they realize the ingredients are almost out. They talk about how to make some money with Tyrul, remembering Elch yelling at them. He had called them useless mouths to feed the previous night. Because of this, Mikogami spends his time cooking, to allow him to have the power to control where the rations go. He hides this from the girls and instead informs them that he is here to cook in order to help out. Meanwhile, in the capital of their kingdom, Sanada is seen with a business permit from some random person. Apparently, with the combination of Sarutobi and Sanada, they blackmailed someone into granting them the permit to trade goods. With this permit, Sanada plans on creating a multi-million-dollar business, seeing it just as the start of his career. He then informs Elch they need to get some goods to sell, telling him their current stuff is junk. He tells Elch that will make them both rich, drawing the attention of the filthy peasant furry. She begs Sanada for money, telling him she is too poor to even feed herself. She begins begging him to teach her how to make money, making him wonder what this peasant girl wants. He knows she won't buzz off unless he accepts her request, so he takes her under his stead. He explains to Elch that he can see her greedy eyes, so she is sure to do well. Sanada tells her that he will exploit her to the maximum in order to get the most profit. With this being said, he tells them it's time to make some cash. To start, he heads to a store to waste all of the money they currently have on giving the peasant girl some non-dirty clothes. He then goes and attempts to get the furries into his pyramid scheme, explaining they will become rich under him. They question his authenticity, but when he presents the trading permit, they decide to accept his request. With these random drunks not knowing anything about making money, they question what they will even be doing. Sanada explains it as essentially buying all of someone else's goods, then reselling it. While they do this, he will take 10% of all profits, making them think it's a great deal. They then decide to invite all of their friends into the pyramid scheme, making Sanada sure he will make it big. Elch questions his shady business model, but Sanada is sure this will work, calling the people of this land stupid. The next day, when he heads out to the spot, he's supposed to meet with the workers. He finds them already setting up shop. Although he has gotten this first step out of the way, he informs Elch that he needs to build trust with not only the workers, but also the town. To counter this, he sets up his business permit for all to see, making them think this is a legit business. Sanada then asks Ruko, the peasant girl, what she thinks of his operation. She tells him although it's a bit shady and robust, she is glad to make lots of money. Following this, he heads into one of the shops to run, but realizes he is getting no customers. The others wonder if this will really work, but he shows that he not only can build a pyramid scheme, but also entice them with words. He shouts out to everyone that his deals are the best, causing various people to flow in. While he sells all the goods, he gives Sarutobi a call, telling her he made too much money today. With all of this money, he needs something to spend it on, so he asks her to gather more information about the best-selling goods. Back in the village, the other prodigies spend their time doing a whole lot of nothing. They look at all the goods that Sanada sent back to them and are overjoyed. While the peasant village looks at all the goods, Mikogami talks with Sarutobi about what they should do next. In another part of the world, the banker that previously denied him services is seen regretting his decision on denying them a permit. He wishes that he had done it himself, but decides if he can't have the profit, then he will shut the shops down. The following day, Sanada gets even more people to fall into his pyramid scheme, selling watered-down mayo. With nobody ever trying this again, it sells out quickly while Ruko gets high on their own supply. Later that day, a blonde man named Klaus appears at the stand, asking if he could try some mayo as well. Sanada does him one better than just giving him a mayo, but rather proposes they make a deal. He informs him that he is on the come-up, so he would like to cut a deal with him before his prices are too extreme. He accepts, and the business continues to grow, eventually taking over the entire town square with their random junk items. When the banker learns that he lost the deal with Klaus to transport goods, it is already too late. He decides that it's finally time to counter Sanada's business, hoping to set up a base in the square as well. Meanwhile, Ruko is seen drooling over all of the money they made, causing it all to get soiled. Sanada cares not about this, thinking that it's just some chump changed to him. One of the only ones who is actually working, Sarutobi then appears asking why they have some peasant girl drooling on their money. Sanada tells her to ignore the girl and asks more about the information she has been acquiring. Sarutobi explains that soon the fat banker will go to war with them and attempt to undermine their business. With this knowledge, Sanada gets overjoyed, thinking it's finally time he gets serious. He then opens up the window and finds various furries waiting outside looking at him with hostile eyes in the middle of the night for some reason. Episode 3. While all of this happens, Mikogami meets with Ohoshi, one of the few people who are actually working. She informs him that she made some shovels so they should be able to enslave the furries easier. With this knowledge, she becomes relaxed, thinking she will finally get a break from Mikogami. He tells her that although she may be tired, she needs to keep working and forget about rest. After getting her to keep working, he heads back to the village to flirt with Tyrul, but stops when he notices it's snowing. He wonders what the others are up to while he sits around in this village, as he thinks he notices the peasant people enjoying their lifestyle, so he decides to just take a nap. On the other hand, the fat banker is now enraged for how much money he is losing, having his business completely undermined. With today being a day where they don't sell a single product, he wonders what's going on. When he goes to inspect the market, he finds Sanada with all of his previous workers under his wing now. He explains that because he tried ripping all of the furries off, he decided to organize a union strike. Now, with no workers, the banker wonders if he will ever make a comeback, so he decides to expose Sanada. He tells them that they are under a pyramid scheme. The dumb furries are unable to understand this. They inform him that even if they are being exploited, they are at least recognized by their boss. With Sanada being at the shops day in and day out, they explain that he is a much better boss. This makes the banker realize he has lost all business, so he gets on his knees, begging for forgiveness. Before they can respond, he walks up on him and starts roasting him, reminding of the time he denied him a loan. Although he has taken away all of his profits, he knows if he can get the banker into his pyramid scheme, then he can make even more money. He offers a deal with the banker, giving him even higher margins than the furries. Thanks to this, he makes even more money and is able to play around with gold coins. Later that day, Elch questions why he would make the banker into his scheme, so he explains. He builds trust with the peasants and makes them work under him. He knows they won't ever leave him. He then plans on using the banker to do his usual business and run it for him as if it was the same as usual. As they talk, they suddenly see Ruko get called goods and taken away from some goblin men. They tell Sanada that she is their slave, so he needs to back off. This makes him wonder if he should save her, so he asks her if she wants help. Thanks to using the methods he has learned, she bites the goblin man's arm and breaks free. She then begs Sanada to buy her here, and now so he decides to follow suit. He throws a bag of money at the goblin dude's face, telling him he will buy her for 100x the market price. With money thrown at them, they decide to give her away. Ruko just being some filthy beggar anyways. Back at the village, we see Mikogami still doing absolutely nothing. He talks with Sarutobi on the phone, flirting with her in the process. He asks her about magic, thinking that he may be able to use it. She informs him that it's like the usual isekai, having the main 4 elements to use. Although she knows about magic, she has no information on how to use it, magic users being incredibly rare. She then tells him that the story about the 7 heroes was just some fairy tale. With it originating in another empire long ago, it wouldn't make sense for them to be the heroes. On top of this, the place that made up the story got burned to the ground years back, making it unlikely that the origin of the story is even still around. She then informs him the last bit of information she gathered, telling him in order to travel out of the country, they would need a traveling permit as well. Mikogami then interrupts Ichijo, explaining she has finished making the bath. Despite all of the girls being in the bath, he decides to get in anyways, showing no respect for them. He explains that he needs to wash up as well if he is going to continue to please them. With this being said, Tyrul walks over to him and starts giving him a hand job on his hand. As she rubs it all over Prince, the useless magician walks up and tells them bad news. With some of the villagers getting defeated from some monsters, they are forced to exit the bath and hurry off. While this happens, Sanada and the others get back to base, wondering what's going on. Meanwhile, Mikogami walks over to the villagers, asking if they are all right while doing nothing himself. Considering he left Ichijo to fight the monster, he stands with confidence at the top of the hill, watching from afar. Kanzaki finally appears as well, making her first scene within the series. She inspects the injured villager and explains to the others that she will be able to easily treat him. As this happens, Ichijo continues fighting the monster, wishing the others would give her some kind of help. Regardless, she keeps fighting, knowing if the chances of them helping are low. It takes time, but after a while she takes the monster down, getting rid of the threat. On the other hand, Kanzaki uses her skills as a doctor to repair the injured man. Somehow, she is able to have tons of knives and other tools to properly execute the surgery, all the while keeping it in a safe environment. Once she finishes her operation, she tells the villages that the man will wake up in a few days. With him being completely useless as usual, Mikogami hands her a rag to wash her face off with. He then heads back to the village and wonders what they should do next. Before he can say anything, some soldiers approach and introduce the leader of them as the Silver Knight Inzagi. They order the peasants to bow their heads, so they do so. As if it was a pain in the neck, Inzagi orders his soldiers to capture everybody. He tells them they are suspected of treason for gathering information without a permit. Not only do you need a permit to trade and travel, but you also need one to collect information. He explains this to the peasants and informs him that they are to hand over all of their money. Like a thug, he robs them dry, showing he has no plans of backing down. To top it all off, he burns down the village for no reason, acting like a complete savage. Even after seeing all of this, Mikogami explains to them that there is nothing to stress about. As he says this, Prince appears above them and snaps his fingers, revealing all of the missing villagers. Somehow he is able to do all of these unexplained feats, making it seem like they use him to cover up any plot holes. Now that they are all saved, Mikogami thinks of a plan for what to do with the village. As he looks around, he notices that his topside chick, Lyrule, is gone, so he starts stressing. Episode 4. As he wonders where she went off to, she is seen getting all washed up and dressed nicely. With her being a hot elven girl, it was only inevitable for her to get kidnapped by some rich guy. Once the others learn of this, they decide they won't let this slide, so they will march into the Lord's castle. Before they leave, Mikogami stops them, reminding them there is no way for them to possibly invade the area. Instead, he proposes that he alone goes to negotiate, thinking that he will be able to convince the Lord to give them back Lyrule. This angers the furries, so they ask if he really thinks his words could convince someone like the Lord. As he says this, Wayana joins in on the conversation and tells her dumb son to shut up already and just trust Mikogami. Although she agrees with Mikogami's claims, she still informs him that they will go to rescue Lyrule, not caring about their own lives. This makes Mikogami sad knowing they will all die, so she inspects his hand. Upon looking, she notices that he has been clawing his hand, causing it to bleed, showing he has been hurting the most. She then asks once again to let the furries help him, so he decides to give a speech. He inspires them to fight for all they have, reminding them of the dangers that come with it in the process. They all accept his demands, so Mikogami closes with telling the furries that he will not only bring back Lyrule, but advance them 500 years into the future. He informs them that he and his group plan on destroying the world as they know it in order to make it more suitable for their needs. Meanwhile, at the Lord's castle, he looks at Lyrule with lustful eyes while showing off his gold grill. He tells the White Knight that he did good this time, bringing him something most applicable to his tastes. The Lord then orders him to leave, making her remember something he had told her previously, with the captain offering her a deal to never touch the village again if she becomes the Lord's girl she was forced to accept. She thinks that her sacrifice will be for the good of the people, knowing if she doesn't do this, then things will go wrong. With this in mind, she decides to play the role of the Lord's girl to her fullest capacity. Despite him having a pig-like appearance, she offers to make out with him, but before she gets the chance, some lightning magic strikes him back. The captain wonders if she is a mage, previously thinking she was just some hot elf girl. Because she used this magic, the Lord tells his captain to tie her up and get her to where she can't refuse him. As this happens, Mikogami finishes his preparation to invade the castle, starting by sending in a high-power cannon. With them running in as the cannon launches, they didn't expect it to have such a large impact. This allows the group to charge head-on into the castle, breaking through their previously impenetrable defenses. The captain sees this, so he gets on the scene, ordering his men to prepare for war. They then start firing at the furries, but all of their attacks are blocked by a big shield. Sanaba reveals that Ohoshi manufactured all of these shields for them by combining various materials to make a lightweight shield. This gives them a confidence boost running into battle, which is soon followed by arrows. Because the worthless son is behind the bow, he is able to take down tons of soldiers himself alone. Although they may have this advantage, the soldiers outnumber the others 10-1, making the battle still seem impossible to win. Just as you would expect the furries to get slaughtered, Uyana and Ichigo emerge to the scene, taking down soldiers like bugs. As they distract the main army, Mikogami sneaks inside alongside Sarutobi, searching the area for Lyrule. Eventually, they find his room, but are stopped when an Imperial mage, Gale, stands in their way. He informs them that he will use his skills to kill them here and now, showing no mercy. As this happens, the soldiers start to lose their courage to fight, seeing how powerless they really are. To top it off, Prince appears before the soldiers, using his random magic to strike fear into them. He claims to be a mage here to stop them, but once he sees the battlefield riddled with blood, he gets scared. He knows, however, that if he backs down here, then he will continue to be useless, so he resolves his courage. He then throws some smoke bombs onto the ground which he claims are poisoned. Little do the soldiers know they are just random smoke bombs that have no such effect. On the other hand, Gale, the mage, continues to strike Sarutobi, but is unable to land a single hit. She informs him that as the world's best ninja, evading slow attacks like these is a piece of cake. After she is done fooling around with him, she electrocutes his face, bringing him off his feet. Right after she defeats Gale, the Knight Captain emerges, hoping to stop them in their tracks. Mikogami then leaves the battle to her, and runs ahead only to later find Lyrule tied up in the bedroom. As he goes to approach her, he suddenly gets shot by the Lord. This makes Mikogami fall to the ground, causing the Lord to jump around happily. He thinks that Mikogami is done for, but little does he know, Mikogami has plot armor preventing his death. He uses this plot armor to get back up despite being shot. He explains that he just happened to have a bulletproof vest, pulling out a gun of his own. He then shoots the knife out of the Lord's hand, showing he isn't the only one with a Glock. Mikogami then informs the Lord that if he moves another muscle, he will kill him as well. The Lord continues to cause a ruckus, so Mikogami informs him that unfortunately there is no turning back from this. He explains that if he doesn't kill him here, then their people will continue to be oppressed by him and the other nobles he is in line with. Once the Lord realizes his life is on the line, he begins laughing menacingly, claiming that if he kills him, then he will surely die by the Emperor's hands. This doesn't faze Mikogami, however, so he tells him that he will simply kill the Emperor as well. With these remarks being said, he fires the fun and takes out the Lord. Although he shot him in the head, he only used rubber bullets for some reason to knock him out. He then confronts Lyril and notices that she isn't who he thought. With her eyes glowing a pure blue color, she begins speaking without a thought behind her eyes. She tells Mikogami that the evil dragon will come back soon, and she needs the 7 heroes, including himself, to save the world. The entity possessing Lyril then disappears, causing her to wake up unknowing what occurred. She wonders what Mikogami is doing here, but soon catches on after seeing the Lord knocked out. Mikogami tells her that this is the first step to building their own nation, showing he plans on using the castle as their home base. Episode 5. To expand his influence in this world, he creates his own symbol and slaps it on a truck. He then dresses Ichigo and Lyril up in sexy bunny outfits to entice the townspeople. Here they announce to the group that Prince is a god, hoping to give everyone a false religion to control them with. To show that he is a god, Prince does some cheeky magic tricks that most people wouldn't fall for. The furries, however, fall for it when they are not only provided with a magic show, but also given a large amount of mayo. In order to receive the mayo, they must praise Prince first, which they do. With this advancement, they run out of mayo quickly, so he employs the girls to make it for him. They continue doing this scheme for a few days, giving all of the peasant furries false hope. Mikogami reveals that he was the one behind this ploy, thinking it would be easiest to trick the people by using his magic. He knows that although this is just some ploy at the moment, in the future, he will surely gain influence all over the continent. He continues this process until he gets all of the furries completely hooked on the mayo. While this happens, the man who first lent them the trading permit is seen wishing he had never done such a thing. He is then approached by Mikogami, who for some reason decides to wear a maid uniform. He immediately takes it off, making us wonder why he even put it on in the first place. He then tells the rich merchant that he knows he is stressing about them taking over, but he wants his help. He guarantees a fair wage for him and offers to allow him to continue running his business as he has. The only condition for all of this is vowing to follow his new religion as well to make their credibility increase even more. With no other options, he decides to follow suit and give a speech the following day to the townsfolk. With him being the mayor of the town, he announces that he is transferring leadership of this town to the Seven Light Faith, the organization that follows Prince. After these events, they take over his house and put him into a shed somewhere. They don't care about this, however, so Mikogami decides to ask them what they think of him in the maid uniform. While some of them find it attractive, others find it rather disturbing. Mikogami then informs them that he doesn't plan on stopping here, but rather plans on taking over the entire world. While he has big plans, he tells the others that they can rest for a couple of days before working them to the bone again. With this being said, Kanzaki asks him if she can go into town to gather more materials for his medical advances. Mikogami, of course, agrees, having planned to work her overtime anyways. Once he accepts her request, others decide to offer extra help as well, so Mikogami just forgets about the break entirely and gives everyone a new job. With each member having something to do, they wonder if they will ever get a break under Mikogami. Now, with everyone having a new job, he informs them that he also has plans for transforming the existing soldiers. With him making the previously Silver Knight group into the Seven Light Soldiers, some of them protest the decision, including the captain of the group. Somehow, Mikogami knows this, so he goes to track down the captain of the group, Zest. He finds him in some tavern, so he asks him why he is quitting the Knight group, telling him he is an important figure. Mikogami explains that without him, the soldiers won't know what to do, so he really needs him to come back under his wing. He offers him a new job, but Zest knows that it's all just a big scheme, using his mayo and magic tricks to trick the people. He informs him that he wants no part of such a shady country, leaving without another word. Mikogami then goes to meet with Sanada, where he explains what Zest told him. Although all hope seems lost for him, Mikogami plans on bugging him until the day he dies. To show this, he heads to his house the following day, bugging him yet again. This time he proposes an even higher title, asking him if he would become the head knight of his group. Zest tells him that he already has this position, so there is genuinely no reason for him to join again. As he talks, his daughter runs over to him, showing he didn't leave with no explanation. Once Mikogami sees this, he wonders how he can exploit his services by threatening his daughter. He decides to offer him a job yet again, this time promising that he will ensure that his daughter lives a peaceful life. Mikogami explains that by having him under his wing as a soldier, it will help keep the kingdom safe and prevent any damage to his daughter. Once he hears this, he instantly folds, showing he has a real soft spot for his daughter. He then declares his loyalty to Mikogami, making him trapped under his wing for the rest of his life. While this happens, some other people talk badly about Mikogami, calling him some rich noble from another land. Mikogami, on the other hand, pays no mind to such peasants, thinking they are a waste of time. As this happens, Sarutobi is seen seducing soldiers to see what they think about them taking over the kingdom. Thanks to her massive rack, she is able to get all the information needed from the soldiers, making them play right into her hands. As she talks, she learns that it won't be an easy feat to take down the emperor, him having various henchmen that are said to be super strong. After she finishes talking with the soldiers, she informs Elch of all her information, telling him she plans on going to meet one of the dukes. While she is on the way to meet with Duke Oslo, he is seen taking the head off of the previous lord's knight captain, calling him useless for giving up the castle. He vows to take back the castle with his own two hands in the name of the emperor. Episode 6. While he is seen scheming his way to take down Mikogami, he is seen reforming the taxes to get as much money out of the people as he can. He also uses the previous mayor's influence to help him rule this kingdom. As he works, the previous mayor wonders if he ever sleeps, noticing that he is always doing something with his time. Mikogami explains that since arriving, he has been sitting around every day, so he is happy to finally put his skills to work. Following this, he uses the taxpayers' money to help rebuild the furry village, hoping to gain more merit with them. While he runs all of this, Kanzaki is seen sitting around in the village, enjoying the amenities, all the while treating the beast people. Thanks to her healing methods, she has healed the village chief not only to his former state, but an even stronger state. Then suddenly, as they talk, Ruko enters the room in a sorry state. They provide the young girl with some ale, so she gets regenerated and ready to talk. She tells them that Sanada has been overworked without feeding her, bringing her to the brink of death. They wonder if they should help her out, but no, at the end of the day, she is just some slave. Kanzaki notices how tired she is, so she assures her to keep working hard, thinking one day she will be able to take a break. Meanwhile, Mikogami goes to meet with Ohoshi, where she shows him her new technological advancement, with her creating a whole power plant from scratch to give their new kingdom energy. Mikogami thanks her for her work. Although she has completed this, he still needs lots more things done, so he orders her to get back to work. With this, she leaves sadly, wishing she could spend more time with Mikogami. Once she is gone, he talks with Sanada about his pyramid scheme, asking him if he has made enough money to fund his next plan. He reveals that he plans on making a base on the moon by using a combo of magic and their previous technological advances. He also wants to put laser beams on the moon to shoot down on any enemies that may try to stop their advances. While they talk, Lyrule suddenly walks up on them, asking for help. She informs Mikogami that she has been working all day, so she wants to thank him for his help previously. She invites him to lunch, but he explains that he has no time for such things, ordering her to get back to work. He then leaves Sanada and Lyrule to talk amongst each other, getting back to work himself. When he leaves, Lyrule asks Sanada if he hates her. He always treats her like some toy. He explains to her that he is just a busy man with busy plans, telling her he has no time to waste on someone like her. Although this may be the case, he definitely cares for her, so he explains this to her. Sanada then reminds her of everything he has done for her, showing he prioritizes getting things done before all else. He tells her that although she may never understand this kind of mindset, it's because he has this mindset that they are able to get so much stuff done. Mikogami then heads back to his estate, where he learns some unfortunate news from one of his workers. He is informed that one of his projects failed, making Mikogami wonder if he is doing too many things at one time. As he thinks of this, Lyrule bangs on his door, hoping to get some action, but he denies her request. He tells her he is too busy to give her the time of day, but she enters anyway. She informs him that she will do anything she can to help him, even offering her body. Mikogami, however, denies her request, explaining that when she was captured, he tried to abandon her for his own benefit. Even upon hearing this, she persists, telling him that it was thanks to him that she is able to live freely. Once this is said, he tries to diminish himself once again, telling her he is different than what she thinks. Lyrule then begins listing the feats that he has achieved, calling him a good person. After she says this, Mikogami begins talking about his past, telling her he killed his own father in his old world. With his father previously being a politician, he admired him, until one day he found out about his corruption. This filled him with anger, so he worked with Sanada and Sarutobi to trick the people into executing him. In turn, this causes his mother to leave him, forcing Mikogami to be alone at a young age. He tells her that although he may seem like a nice guy, everything he does is for his own benefit, him being unable to control this. For some reason, this brings Lyrule to tears, her hoping to empathize with his mediocre story. He then reminds her of his personality, explaining he would love her, but he is just too busy. Once she hears these words, she pushes him to the side and tells him she will love him even if he is a bastard. With this being said, Mikagami decides to take her up on this offer, lying down on her lap. He smells a fishy smell, so he tells her to close her legs, but ends up falling asleep regardless. While he sleeps, Lyrule considers taking advantage of him, but stops when she realizes he is still awake. Ohoshi sees all of this go down, causing her to head back to her lab angrily. With her having a crush on him, she takes her anger out on her work. The following day, we get the eye candy part of the episode where all the girls take a bath. As they bathe, Ruko shares with the others that she is excited for an upcoming test Sanada is making her take. The next day after taking this test, she is seen with dead eyes, revealing despite her training she is still just some dumb peasant girl.